Hi, everybody. Welcome to Philly Jazz Talks. I'm Suzanne Cloud, Project Director of the Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project. And this evening, we're going to be talking to drummer Erik Marley and Jay Mage. I think I didn't say that correctly, but Jay can correct me when we introduce them. Jay is the owner of Mageworks Productions. It's a recording facility engaged in producing this project we're going to be talking about tonight that concerns the late jazz drummer, Jim Miller. We're going to be talking about Jim's life and his music. I'm very excited about this particular one since Jim and I were such good friends. But before we do that, it's important that you know that these monthly jazz talks are brought to you by the Philadelphia Jazz Legacy Project. And we are an organization whose mission is to establish a permanent jazz archive of Philadelphia area jazz artists through recordings, video interviews, manuscripts, material culture like photographs, programs, posters, anything that relates to Philly jazz and its history. I'd also like to thank the Philadelphia Cultural Fund for sponsoring these monthly talks. Without their help, these programs would not be possible. And I'd like to thank the people who have supported us last month with their donations. Thank you to everyone. We appreciate it so very much. Next month, I just wanted to let you know that we're taking a break for the holidays, but we will have more programs starting in January. To get a reminder of these events and other Philly Jazz Legacy work, please go to our website at phillyjazzhistory.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Before I introduce tonight's guests, I want to tell you about Jim Miller. He was a dear, dear friend, a colleague, and a champion for Philadelphia jazz. Jim Miller died of sepsis at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital in February 2019. He was only 65. Born in the Midwest, Jim began playing professionally in 1970 in Indianapolis in a variety of original material bands. One of these bands played Philly while on tour. When Jim heard WRTI, our local jazz station, airing an all Coltrane weekend on his hotel room radio, he decided right there and then to move to Philadelphia, and he did so in 1977. Miller co-founded the jazz fusion group Reverie, an experimental group that included pianist Mark Knox, bassist Gerald Veasley, saxophonist E.J. Yellen, as well as many other featured artists, including guitarist Jeff Lee Johnson. Philly truly embraced Jim as a musician, and he was very, very sought after as recording artist playing with other artists and first call drummers in the area for jazz. He worked with and recorded with artists such as Johnny Coles, Ira Sullivan, Larry Coryell, John Blake, Al Gray, Cecil Bridgewater, Victor Bailey, Anita O'Day, that gig he particularly wasn't very fond of, Bootsy Barnes, Sid Simmons, Reggie Workman, Uri Kane, Larry McKenna, Charles Fambro. He recorded a great Christmas album with Charles Fambro. Randy Brecker, Vanessa Rubin, so many people. One of his main groups that he played with was he was a part of the Eddie Green Trio with Tyrone Brown. And he started with them when we recorded my first album, because my trio was Eddie Green and Tyrone Brown. And when I heard Jim play, it was no brainer. I was going to hire him for every gig I had. In 1986, Jim founded Encounter Records, which later became Dreambox Media in 1995. And it was especially envisioned to promote the artists in the Philadelphia area who were having a difficult time getting onto any major labels at that time. He worked selflessly until his death without pay. He was promoting artists on the label. It was definitely a labor of love. One of the first artists Jim produced was singer Evelyn Sims, another singer that he worked with a lot at the Borgia Cafe with Bob Cohen and Tyrone Brown. Her recording of On My Own was awarded Best Jazz Recording in 1989 by the Philadelphia Music Foundation. In 1999, Dreambox Media won the Philadelphia Magazine's Award for the Best of Philly Jazz Record Label. An educator all his life, Miller lectured at the University of Pennsylvania and taught advanced drum set on the jazz faculty at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. In early 2007, Dreambox Media / Encounter Records celebrated its 20th anniversary, coinciding with its 100th release. Miller's Monkadelphia Crepuscule CD with vibist Tony Maselli was named one of the top 10 best in jazz by the Philadelphia Inquirer. Eventually, Jim Miller formed his own band called Miller Time and he put out 2 CDs of original material. 2 compositions are featured in the Philadelphia Real Book, which I just heard is coming out next fall, excuse me. And he was also worked on that project as part of being a founding member of Jazzbridge, a nonprofit he continued to work for and promote until his death. For the entirety of Jim Miller's work, he received the Jazz Hero Award for the Philadelphia region by the Jazz Journalists Association in April 2013. His last CD was Flicks and Tones. When I first heard it, he came over to my house and he played it for me. He had like a film that went with it and everything. And the music was just astonishing. And he had gotten into composing kind of late in life, but he was exceptional. And it was definitely something that was a joy to hear. And I was surprised at how well it was put together. It was just wonderful. Now to introduce tonight's guests. Erik Marley has been playing drums and percussion for about 15 years. He attended Rowan University, where he studied jazz performance under the tutelage of Jim Miller, and classical percussion under the instruction of Broadway percussionist Dean Witten. Erik is currently a working jazz musician in the Philly, New Jersey area. In 2016, he released an EP entitled Sour Dreams, and in 2018, he released his first LP entitled Early Life. Both are available on Bandcamp. Jay Mage, Mahuziak, I hope I'm saying that right, began his career as a sound engineer and is now owner and lead engineer for Mageworks Productions in South Jersey. Jay has provided over a decade of production services in Philadelphia and the tri-state area, working with performers and venues in the jazz, folk, classical, opera, and rock and roll genres. Whether you hear a Mageworks produced track on the radio, see a live band at a concert, or you're attending a special fundraiser or momentous occasion at a grand event space, you'll probably find Jay behind the scenes or up on the stage. So welcome to all of you. Let's go. Good evening, everyone.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Erik, I want you to, why don't you put up the first image, Lex? Lex Samakis is our tech guy. Oh, Jay, there's Jim. This is a wonderful photo taken of Jim when he was playing. Probably, this looks like a place up in Germantown. That, huh?
Is that La Rose?
Yeah, I think it's La Rose. And this was taken by the great Anthony Dean. And I love this photo of him. That was an expression he usually had on his face. So, Jay, first of all, how do you say your last name again?
They just call me Jay Mage. So Mageworks, Jay Mage.
Okay.
You know, there you go.
All right. Let's go to the next slide, Lex, if you would. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Erik, this is a picture of you and Jim. Can you talk to me about how you met Jim and what kind of a mentor or teacher he was?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for having me tonight, Suzanne. This is really special. I started at Rowan in 2009, and Jim was my jazz drum set teacher, and I think I immediately, like, sort of gravitated towards the way Jim was and the way that he taught, because it was, I mean, a lot of people, like, younger kids didn't really understand it a lot, but I was already a little older by the time I started there.
Mhm.
And it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't anything out of books. We didn't use a book. There was no reading. It was hanging out, playing, listening to tunes, discussing. I mean, sometimes it wasn't even about music. It went off into politics and different stuff like that. But it was just a really organic way to learn. It was almost like through osmosis. And he was my drum teacher at Rowan for 4 years, and then I also did my master's with him there too. Because Joe Morello passed away when I was supposed to start taking lessons with Joe, so I stayed with Jim. So I was with Jim for 6 years.
Wow, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You look so very I don't know, like a graduate student there.
This picture was during grad school. We put together a performance of Bitches Brew, the whole album. We played the whole Miles Davis album in the planetarium at Rowan. So there was a light show, and it was the weirdest thing you could imagine. So that made Jim really happy to be able to do that, because that was one of his favorite albums too.
Oh yes, it certainly was. Eric, why don't you tell me the musicians in this video? It's cool. I can give a little background to it, and the fact that I remember Jim Miller hated musicals, absolutely hated them. And I just happened to be very fond of them. And we got into a political discussion together. And I said, what would be a good tune to arrange would be that tune from West Side Story. And it's called Cool. And I played it for him when I had the VHS tape, put it in, popped it in, played it. And he really liked it. He had heard it before, but had never seen it actually done. And he said, okay, let's arrange it. So that's what happened. So why don't you tell Eric, why don't you talk about the musicians in this?
Sure. Scott Coulter is on organ, and yeah, so he's playing the bass and he's playing organ. Gregory Grispart is on saxophone. He was a grad student at Rowan the same time I was. That's how we met. And he played with Jim a few times. I think he did a few gigs with him. On guitar is Erik Marley. He's a Philly guitar player. And on vocals is Audra Marielle. She's a singer from like around the Atlantic Highlands area, like right under New York, but still in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hear it. I'm interested in what is that thing that she's working with to is that a vocal manipulator or something with it?
Yeah, she has special effects that she carries around in a suitcase, and it's really cool. No,
yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, it worked out really, really well for the tune. Sort of like a phaser and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, Lex, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and start it off.
Boy, crazy boy, get cool, boy, get cool.
somebody's already posted in the chat. Ryan Holquist. Jim played me a demo of the West Side Story arrangement that he did a few days afterwards, and we had a ball listening to it over and over again. His enthusiasm was contagious.
Mhm.
So thanks, Ryan. And anyone else who wants to post in the chat, we will get to Q&As later, but if it's something that pertains to what you're seeing or listening to, please go ahead and post. All right, this is a very old picture of the original Reverie Band. And there's Jim on the left and Gerald Beasley right next to him. I talked to Gerald tonight, and he's going to be watching this after we post it on our YouTube channel. For everybody, he had a gig tonight. He couldn't come to the Philly Jazz Talks. That's Mark Knox next to Gerald, and E.J. Yellen, the saxophonist. Mark played keyboards, Gerald played bass, and of course Jim played drums. And it really was one of the top groups in Philadelphia, fusion groups at that time. And we're talking late 70s, early 80s. Next slide, Lex. Okay, now here's a later photograph with Mark Knox on the left, Jim next to him, E.J. Yellen, and that's the late, great Jeff Lee Johnson, guitarist and bass player, who also died very young, which really upset Jim, me, and almost everybody in the Philadelphia area. That's a wonderful picture. And next slide. Oh, this is when Jim and I decided to do an album together in the mid 90s, and it was going to be a political one. And as you see here, this was on the inside where you put the CD, and I'm holding The Nation. If anybody's familiar with The Nation, it's a very leftist center magazine, and he's holding Jazz Times, and it was we really had a lot of fun putting the album together. It was called With a Little Help from My Friends, and it had everybody that we could possibly want on there. Gerald, Jeff Lee Johnson, Eddie Green was on it. I mean, it was just an incredible experience working with Jim on that. Jim had a fabulous sense of humor, and him and I both had a very deeply ingrained love of politics. So we were very much in on the whole political scene at the time, which was the rise of Newt Gingrich and that whole horrible episode in our body politic. What really made it very nice was one of the first people who bought the CD had heard it on WDCU in DC, and it was someone who had charged it to the House Bank, which was underneath. It was going through a scandal with the House of Representatives Bank with people not reimbursing what they had charged on there. So I still have that hanging up in my office, check that we got. So that was a lot of fun. Next slide, Lex. All right, now this picture is Jim with Renda Fearington, myself, Wendy Simon, Mike Boone, the bassist, and Jason Fifield. Jazzbridge had won an award, and Jim was a co-founder of Jazzbridge. He worked from the very beginning. Since I had worked with him on the label, the record label, to get it started, I asked him immediately to help me with Jazzbridge, and he was right there. And we had just gotten an award from the Pennsylvania Humanities Council, and that's us in Harrisburg. Just to let you know what a human being he was and how much he cared about the community. He really did. All right, let's play the next clip, Lex. And I'll just start it off before Erik talks about it. This is a tune called Sim City. And it is about Evelyn Sims, a singer who he totally adored. They worked at the Borgia together for years and years, the Borgia Cafe, one of the primo jazz spots. And Evelyn was, he used to say she had the whole real book in her head because she taught him an awful lot about how to work with singers. Not that he didn't know how to work with singers, but he just loved her dearly, and loved working with her and Tyrone and Bob Cohen. And so he wrote this song for her. I wrote the lyrics because I was close to Evelyn myself. And Eric, do you want to tell me again some of the way you decided to do some of this song here?
Yeah, so we didn't do it exactly like Jim's recording. I think we put a vamp up front, and I think we traded at the end, and there was like some other stuff. So it was a little different than the recording that he did initially, but it's the same musicians as before: Greg, Scott, Audra, Eric, and myself.
All right. Is there anything special about the song that you particularly liked?
Yeah, I mean, this one from Jim's solo records, there weren't a whole lot of slower Latin kind of stuff, and this stuck out to me because the singing was very, very good. It was about something that was clearly special to him, someone that was special to him, but it also had a nice Latin feel, because a lot of his stuff was off the wall, and this one was almost too traditional, but I liked it. It was nice hearing this kind of tune from him.
Small girl on a tiny bandstand, she sings, just sings. It's really the moment of her fulfillment. She sings, just sings. Jay and Jane, the changes. With every note she tells a tale, and all the laughter and questions that never fail to resolve in the essence of a song. She's the sound that testifies for a town that can't say goodbye. She's the sound that testifies for a town that can't say goodbye.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful, Eric. It really does. Um, yeah, Evelyn was something else, and she meant so much to Jim. And she was one of Philly's best vocalists that I've ever known or listened to. Um, I'd like to bring Jay into this now. Now, Jay, tell me what it was like, recording these guys, what your studio is like, what you have there, and
Yeah,
you
well,
have the floor.
this is great. I mean, it was great to work with some super talented musicians. Um, when I first met Eric, they were just rehearsing. I have a rehearsal room, so it was like, just do your thing. I like letting the creative process just happen. So it was nice that they started out over there, just kind of able to get into it and feel out the songs and have different days to put at it. And then we got to talking and we were like, I have a studio over here and I had recently just got into video production on my own terms and started filming the concerts and stuff I was doing around town. And it all worked out that we were like, yeah, let's just do these songs here. I think, unfortunately, because, things were starting at that time period, the streaming, the video was the only way to really get your music out there. So we went for it and we went all the way, and bringing everybody in and getting to see all the energies they put into their different instruments. It was really something else. So it was really great to be able to work with them in that way. And then to find out like the rich history attached to all the music they were doing. Like I would just hear it through the wall. I had no, I've heard a lot of jazz and worked in the Philly jazz scene doing sound. Right when I graduated, I put in a few hard years and met a lot of the people Jim played with, but I don't think I maybe crossed paths with him really at the jazz clubs. But a lot of his contemporary, a lot of his peers are people that I got the chance to work with. So it was really cool to just hear the music speak for him and then find out about him later after the music kind of was something that I was introduced to. So that was really interesting experience to go from just the jams, hearing the jams, to turning it into something like this.
How long have at your studio? Where exactly is your studio?
I'm in South Jersey, right over the bridge from Philadelphia.
Okay.
So I've been moving around. I've had a studio space in South Philly. I'm in Collingswood now, and I do a lot of live production, a lot of the Chris's Jazz Cafe stuff, that Philly UArt scene. So I was doing sound before more studio stuff, because you have to go out there and work at the clubs that have the stuff. And that's where, like, right when I graduated, I got to do sound for a lot of these great, they're like the staples of Philadelphia, these musicians, like, and Jim seemed to play with everybody, and what was cool is that he was inspired by Philly. Like it must have been the big city for him. So he must have had a blast, because there was some real talent and he seemed to channel it very well in his music. He seemed to embrace all the different stuff that he heard and just kind of pushed it through with this rhythmic, kind of nuance that you don't see too often. So that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, he bridged a lot of different genres too within jazz itself. And one of his last concerts that I saw, he was working on that Flicks and Tones with DM Hotep playing guitar. And I interviewed him for the Real Book and everything. And I'm so glad we got that concert in. But it was, his music was just developing so rich and wonderful. It just hurt. It still hurts that he left us so young. But let me go to the next slide, Lex. I think I put a picture of Evelyn in there. Oh, all right. Well, this is a picture of Charlie Rice. This is something else I wanted to mention. This is when Charlie Rice is a major drummer in the Philadelphia area. He played with Dizzy Gillespie, Coltrane. He played with what was his name? Trumpet player. I can't think now. I'm having a senior moment. But Charlie Rice was a wonderful drummer from Philadelphia, and he lived well into his 90s. And Jim became very close to Charlie Rice. and would set up his drums. And Charlie played his last concert in Collingswood. And I think every single drummer who came out that night from Philadelphia packed the room. We had gone way over what was allowed legally in the room. There were just hundreds of drummers there. And him and Charlie just had a relationship that was just so special. And Charlie really, really loved him. In fact, Charlie gave him a ride cymbal that he used to use when he was with Louis Jordan. And so Jim would visit him at the nursing home that he was in. That day, I think we had he wanted some fried chicken, so we brought some fried chicken over for him. But next slide there, Lex. Oh, here's the Dreambox 20-year mark for story for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And that's pictures of Jim and Mark Knox, who had a recording studio in Philadelphia. And you notice Jim's wearing the shirt "Support Your Local Jazz Musician" from Jazz Bridge. So he always had was thinking about the community as a whole. Let's see the next one, Lex. Oh, I guess, well, that's the cover of his last project, which had Tyrone Brown on it, DM Hotep, Chris Simonini, and EJ Yellen was on that. And I think this will be the last recording that you want to talk about a little bit here, Erik?
We did Sticks and Tones. I think Flicks and Tones was what he made the video called, but the tune was.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Sticks and Tones was the name of the tune. And I mean, there wasn't a whole lot I was able to really research up on this tune. I think he made a YouTube video to go along with it.
He did, and it was playing on the Philadelphia local channels forever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it was like a history of war on Earth.
That's right.
So he had a globe that was stop motion type stuff, and he put these little word bubbles in to describe, what kingdoms conquered what, and
yeah, I know.
That kind of stuff. And it was going through, I think it was 2,000 years of recorded history.
Right.
But because the tune is only 4 or 5 minutes long, these word bubbles are going by so fast you can't. But this tune in particular was really, really fun to record because of just how it's written, with the tempo changes and the key that it's in. I mean, I'm sure everyone, the roadmap for the tune, the form was not easy, and the changes were not easy. I mean, thankfully I don't really have to deal with that, but the pianist and the guitarist, Scott and Erik Marley, were what is going on here? So this one kind of took a minute. I mean, but it was definitely worth it.
Well, it sure is nice seeing you playing those drums. It really is, Eric.
Hmm.
Wow, you sound great. You really do.
Oh, thank you.
All right, put up Evelyn's picture, Lex. Oh, okay. This is a picture of Evelyn and Butch Ballard, another drummer, who was a great friend of Jim's. And in fact, I can tell you a really neat story about Jim and Butch Ballard. He was playing in Collingswood. I had booked him in, and he had forgotten something on his drum kit, or I know he was getting. Butch also lived to be pretty old, and Jim would carry his drums in for him and help him set them up. And he had left some kind of clamp somewhere, and he didn't have it. and which was unusual for Butch because he was very methodical. And Jim ran back to his car and said, "I think I've got the clamp." And he comes, he brings it in. But Butch Ballard was another great friend of Jim's, and Butch Ballard had played with Duke Ellington and Count Basie and everything else. So that's a picture of Evelyn and Butch Ballard. So, all right. Well, tell me where this project's is going to be find a home on, Erik.
This project's available on Bandcamp, but I'm probably going to think about having it pressed, like on a CD, and have it actually made up and everything. But yeah, right now it's on Bandcamp.
Now, how many songs did you do of Jim's altogether?
I think 6.
Okay, what are the other songs that you did?
We did Sticks and Tones. We did Sim City. We did Cool. We did In One Ear and Out the Other.
Uh-huh.
We did Serendib.
Mm-hmm.
And Nostalgia for the Future.
Okay.
So most of them were on the Flicks and Tones thing. The ones that weren't were the tunes with vocals.
Right.
But real quick though, the reason that this project manifested the way that it did is because it was actually supposed to be a tribute concert.
That's
that
right.
that was all set and ready, and I know you were aware of that because you were in it and had a lot of a big hand in like the planning of it and everything. But it was supposed to happen in March of 2020, the same weekend that the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a real drag because there was a lot of people that were gonna that were interested in it, but I guess it would have been a little selfish to still try to hold a concert when the whole world was closed.
Right.
So
Yeah, Jim Riddle was going to play it. Gerald Beasley was going to. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. Everybody. In fact, when I talked to Gerald tonight, he's saying, "I still can't believe he's gone. It's hard to believe that such a fixture of the community is just not here anymore." I'm so glad that you did this project, Erik, because I loved a lot. I loved a lot of his music. Mostly all of it. Some of it, I remember one, Green Zone Blues. Did you ever hear that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
He brought me and Wendy Simon. I asked Wendy Simon, another singer, into the studio. We made up those harmonies on the spot. It was the craziest tune I think we ever sang it. Either one of us had ever sang before.
It sounds very difficult. Like the arrangement of it sounds very difficult.
It was. It was weird. But anyway, let me see. Is this? Oh, okay. Ryan Hallquist is saying, is there any of Jim's symbols that need a home? He's got a smiley face. Do you have some of Jim's symbols, Erik?
I have the ones of his that he used when he was signed to Dream, or like endorsed by Dream Symbols. The other ones, I think he had Meinls before. I don't think.
Meinl, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have any of them.
Oh well, yeah. I'll tell you one thing that just before Jim died, like about a couple months, we were surveying some of his collections of things here in my home with 2 archivists, and I'd always known Jim was a pack rat, and that's what we hope musicians are for the archive. He had saved every business card that any musician anywhere had given to him, and I didn't realize until I saw these business cards how historical they are, because you could actually see the different eras you
Yes.
know, of the musician that the musicians were working in. I mean, it was wild.
One thing about the thing you said about, like, like the historicity of the stuff that he kept, I took that business and music.
Yeah.
That's that which he would always, say was his chance to do stand up every week or whatever.
Right.
But he had these riders that he would give us to show just like to show us just how crazy, some of the demands of these acts were back in the 70s and 80s and stuff, and
Right.
all that stuff about, just wanting us like, brown M&Ms or whatever. Well, I mean, that stuff is real. Like it's
Yeah, it is real. Oh, he saved contracts and everything else. I mean, and that's why he was so good at that course.
Yeah.
But all right, so so when do you think, if you do put it out on a CD, when do you think that might be? Like in the spring sometime, or?
Yeah, I mean, like probably in the next few months, because the recording's already done. I just have to just have it pressed. So however long that takes, that's how long it's going to take.
All right, well, I don't know if you want to put it up on I guess you can put it up on the platform at WRTI.
Sure.
I know that they'd love to play it. And I don't know if you actually need a CD anymore to get it on the platform at WRTI. Do you?
Probably not. I mean, I would assume everything's digital nowadays.
Yeah, you ought to talk to Maureen over there, because that
Mhm.
would be wonderful. All right, let me why don't you go to our favorite page, which is some websites that we have here, Lex. There we go. All right, here's some important links for people to imprint on your brain. I go to the Erik Marley Bandcamp site, and you can hear these songs by Jim and others. Also, Jay, there's his Mageworks.com. And of course, if you go to our site, it's phillyjazzhistory.org, we have on our site, we uploaded In One Ear and Out the Other. The whole tune is on there, Erik. All right. So that people can hear the whole tune.
Yeah, great.
Which you didn't hear tonight.
I should say that the videos for these, the whole length videos, are actually on YouTube.
Are they? Okay. What's the website for that?
It's just my channel on YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. All right. And what's the can you put the last slide up there? All right, this is just a little reminder that your donation is tax deductible and will help the community build the Philadelphia Jazz Archives for everyone to enjoy. And I hope that you will go to our site and explore some of the stuff that we've been doing. And once again, I'd like to thank Jay and Erik and Lex. I always forget to thank Lex. And Ryan for coming. And I will send you the links for everybody who signed up for the Philly Jazz Talks tonight. I'll send you the links of these special websites so you can go hear all the music in its complete form. And really, thanks to all of you for, I mean, it really is nice to see a student of someone as loved as Jim actually create this thing, and it sounds wonderful. I mean, Jim would absolutely love it, Erik. He really would.
Oh, thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah, he really would. So anyway, I would like to say good night to everybody, and thanks for coming. And hi, Micheline, I see you here. So glad you can see it. All right, thanks again, everyone. I'll see you January. Take care.